Good afternoon, people. It is Tuesday, December 9th, and I just wanted to come on, and go over the latest updates of the Rebecca Park case. Just one second. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, the Rebecca Park case, she is the, excuse me, the young lady who was 38 weeks pregnant, and her biological mother, she went missing in Michigan, and her body was found in a state park, and her biological mother and stepfather have been arrested and charged with her torture and murder and a number of other kidnapping, I believe. Apparently, her mother tried to cut the baby out of her stomach. We're not sure why, but there have been some court documents released. And so I'm going to read an article about that and then go over the court documents that they provided. But before that, I want to say that it's cold. My husband and I went up to the mountains yesterday and cut our own Christmas tree, and it was nicer up there than it is here. It was 55 or 57 degrees up there, and down here it's 40s, so you'd think it'd be colder up in the mountains. And there was a little snow on the ground. We took my dog, or our dog, and that was the first time she'd ever been in the snow, and she stepped in the snow and wasn't sure what she should do. So it was kind of fun to watch. Anyways, before I go into the Rebecca Park case, I want to just read an article about the Mickey Steins case. He had a hearing about 3 days ago, and their hearings aren't televised in Kentucky. He is the ex-sheriff in Kentucky that shot Judge Mullins in the judge's chambers, and he hasn't given a reason for it, but they filed a motion to have all the charges dropped, and this is the hearing addressing that. So, let me see. And I want to share. We'll see how smoothly I can run things today. Is that big enough? Every time I make it bigger for you guys, it ends up screwing everything up on the rest of the stream. So, I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so I hate when they put this stuff at the top. It's so annoying. Because you can't see the title of the frickin' article. Ex-sheriff to get bond hearing more than a year after being charged with killing a Kentucky, there we go, no, but it's still not going to show, a Kentucky judge is what it should say. Sorry about that. A judge refused to dismiss the murder indictment against a former Kentucky sheriff accused of gunning down a judge in his courthouse chambers, but will allow a bond hearing for the ex-lawman, now jailed for more than a year, according to rulings released Thursday. At the upcoming bond hearing, defense attorneys cannot discuss the contents of a sealed mental health evaluation, a former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins said Circuit Judge Christopher... Okay, let's try this again. At the upcoming bond hearing, defense attorneys cannot discuss the contents of a sealed mental health evaluation of former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins, said Circuit Judge Christopher Corwin. A date for the hearing was not... Just a second. She's just looking at me like, wow, Mom, why are you yelling at me? Okay. Wow. A date for the hearing was not immediately set by Corwin, who serves as special judge in the case. Corwin said in the ruling Wednesday that a, quote, a bail hearing is not a trial rehearsal, end quote. I wonder what I meant by that. In granting the defense request for the bond hearing, the judge said, quote, the court will first hear evidence to determine whether the defendant's bailable. The defendant is bailable. If the defendant is found to be bailable, the court may then consider setting a bond, end quote. So is he saying that he's afraid that Mickey Steins might be too dangerous to be let go in the public? Is that what he's saying? Because he's not really being very clear. What does he mean by bailable? What makes somebody bailable? That they have the money? Does that make them bailable? That they're mentally competent? Does that make them bailable? That, I mean, what makes them bailable? He needs to be more clear about that. That's kind of, it's kind of discriminatory if you ask me, because everybody, that's a subjective term, you know? Steins is accused of killing District Judge Kevin Mullins in September 2024 at the courthouse in Whitesburg. Security camera footage from Mullins' chambers showed a man police identified as Steins pointing a gun and firing at Mullins. Mullins died at the scene, and Steins, who was sheriff at the time, surrendered without incident. Steins has pleaded not guilty to one count of murder of a public official. Whether bond is justified for the former sheriff has been an ongoing issue. In August, defense attorneys recommended a $50,000 bond, saying Steins is not a flight risk and poses no danger to himself or the community. Prosecutors have responded that Steins is not entitled to a bond, citing a section of Kentucky's Constitution that says the right to bail doesn't apply to people charged with a capital offense. Really? That's strange. Don't most states offer bail to people charged with capital offense? I mean, I didn't know that that was a thing. An attorney for Steins didn't immediately return a phone call and email Thursday seeking comment on the judge's rulings. Prosecutors say they're limited in discussing an ongoing case. Authorities haven't revealed a possible motive for the shooting that stunned residents of Whitesburg, an Appalachian town about 100 miles southeast of Lexington, Kentucky, near the Virginia border. Steins and Mullins had known each other for years. On the day of the shooting, they met for lunch with several other people, a Kentucky State Police detective said at a prior hearing. During the lunch, the judge apparently asked Steins if they needed to meet privately. Steins resigned as sheriff days after the shooting and has been held without bond. In his other rulings, Coran, I don't know if I'm saying that right, denied defense motions to dismiss the indictment and unseal the ex-sheriff's mental health evaluation. In seeking the dismissal, defense arguments included claims that prosecutors elicited false and misleading testimony, thus tainting the grand jury proceedings. The judge ruled that prosecutors met the legal burden to present evidence to the grand jury showing probable cause in the case. Steins's lawyers have argued that the former sheriff suffered from, quote, extreme emotional disturbance, end quote, prior to the shooting. In a document written a few days after the shooting, a social worker who met with Steins in jail said he had remained in, quote, an active state of psychosis, end quote, and didn't appear to understand the criminal charge against him. His lawyers have signaled their defense will focus on an insanity or extreme emotional disturbance claim. I'm trying not to talk so fast because I was watching, some of my other lives and I sound drunk when I talk really fast. So I'm trying to slow my reading down. And so I hope you guys are patient with me. Sorry about that. At a prior court hearing, a harrowing video showing the judge being gunned down was revealed. The video, with no audio, showed a man identified by police as Steins pulling out a gun and shooting at the judge, who was seated at his desk. The man walked around the desk, pointed the gun at the judge, who ducked behind the desk for cover, and he fired again, it showed. Steins could potentially face the death penalty if convicted, but prosecutors haven't yet filed notice with the court on whether they will seek the death penalty. So, I don't know. I was watching the video of him immediately after he turned himself in, and he was out of it. He was so paranoid that they were going to kill him. He didn't want to be alone with any of them, even the ones that were his really good friends. He didn't want to be alone with them. He didn't want to be alone in a car with them. He didn't want to ride down the elevator with them. He didn't want to go down the stairwell with them. They had to get him to the jail somehow, and he would not be alone with any of them at any point in time. And it made it virtually impossible for them to get him to the jail. I mean, it was a fight. I mean, not physically a fight, but they couldn't reason with him. He was just so paranoid and so scared and so out of it. He was just dazed. It looked like he was dazed. But he thought that the police, his co-workers, were out to kill him. And so he was afraid for them to take him to jail, take him into custody. So they sat in the hallway of the courthouse for, I don't know, an hour or more, trying to convince him to let them take him to jail and put him in protective custody. It was really something. It was hard to watch, to be honest with you. So, let me find what I have on Rebecca Park, because this is something else. This whole thing is just ridiculous. Sad. Okay, this article. Suspects told police Rebecca Park's baby put in cooler and thrown in trash. And this is by Andrea. This article in the Detroit Free Press. So, this is crazy. This story has been updated with additional information. Court documents allege Courtney and Bradley Bartholomew each told investigators multiple accounts of how and why Rebecca Park was killed. Let me make this a little bigger. I need to get new contacts, and I've been putting it off. Now I'm suffering for it. And her unborn baby was killed, and her unborn baby cut from her womb in a northern Michigan forest, including blaming each other before the couple was ultimately charged in the pregnant woman's killing. But the one thing they both agreed on, that the baby boy, who authorities say also died, was disposed of in a blue lunch cooler thrown into a trash bin, according to a newly released probable cause affidavits from a deputy who testified under oath in 84th District Court in Wexford County. Oh my God, he was viable too, so I wonder how he died. That's terrible. Uh-oh, what happened to my article? Shit. Oh, shit. I can't just leave well enough alone. Is it not going to let me finish reading it now because I'm not a subscriber? Are you flipping kidding me? Okay, let's stop that. And Jesus, I'm sorry, guys. So much for that. So much for that going smooth, huh? Let me see if this says anything about that. What a pain. What a bitch move. Okay, we'll try this one. Sorry about that. Okay. I don't know if this is going to talk about the cooler, but court documents reveal gruesome details in Rebecca Park murder investigation. Warning, the story contains disturbing information, so trigger warning to those of you who don't think you can handle this. Go ahead and turn off. Wexford County. Court documents have revealed new details in the murder investigation of Rebecca Park. Is it showing up for you guys? Okay. Of Rebecca Park, who was 38 weeks pregnant when she went missing. Park's body was found near the location where she was last seen, and disturbing details have emerged about the fate of her unborn child. Courtney Bartholomew claims that Bradley Bartholomew killed Park as revenge against her fiancé, Richard Failor, for reporting Bradley for a crime that led to his imprisonment. Courtney admitted to investigators that she cut the baby out of Park while she was still alive. Oh my God. Courtney told detectives that when the baby was out of her, Bradley gave one final deadly cut to Park. is heartbreaking. Courtney admitted to trying to give the baby CPR but could not revive the baby. She stated that Bradley then placed the baby in a cooler and disposed of it in a random trash container. Investigators have not yet found the baby boy, and God, that's so sad. And Bradley has claimed that Courtney was jealous of Rebecca for having another baby. That's what I was wondering. Because Courtney didn't raise her kids, they were adopted. And so now Rebecca's having babies, and I was wondering if Courtney was jealous of that. Courtney also told investigators that Kimberly Park and Richard Failer were not involved in Rebecca's murder. However, Kimberly is accused of lying to the police during the investigation. All 4 individuals involved in the case are expected to appear in court tomorrow as the investigation continues to unfold. The investigation into Park's murder has uncovered shocking details, and the upcoming court proceedings are expected to shed more light on the case. Now, when was this written? This was written on 12/9. So I don't know if I think they do stream their court cases. So I'm going to have to look into that and see if we can stream that. That'll be interesting. So let's watch this real fast.
More disturbing details into the murder investigation of Rebecca Park. We have now looked over several court documents that take us inside the police interviews between Courtney and Bradley Bartholomew. The two are accused of killing Rebecca Park while she was 38 weeks pregnant. I broke down those documents in tonight's top story, and we do want to warn you that these details are very graphic and very disturbing. Court documents indicate an autopsy report that there were 6 sharp force wounds to Park. We won't describe where, but they were throughout her body. Police have already stated that her stomach was cut open, but her baby boy was missing. Police have yet to still find that baby. Police know that baby is dead based on interviews with Courtney, according to these court documents. Court documents show that Bradley said the stabbing began when Courtney grabbed the knife and started stabbing her in what he thought was the chest area, but he wasn't sure. But Courtney stated she never stabbed Rebecca. In the court documents, Courtney states it was Bradley who stabbed Rebecca after pulling her out of the truck. Courtney told police that he spun her around and stabbed her in the back 4 or 5 times. She claimed that this was a revenge plot because she had a sexual relationship with Rich and because Rich turned Bradley in for a crime that sent him to jail. Court documents show that when asked by police at what point did they know that Rebecca had died, Bradley said it was after Courtney cut the baby out while Rebecca was still alive. Courtney admitted that she also performed CPR on the baby. Now, there are conflicting statements. At one point, she told them that Rebecca was telling her to save her baby and asking if it was out yet. She did state to police that she did make 2 cuts to try to save the baby. Bradley also stated to police that the baby never took a breath and they never heard him cry. Court documents shed more light on the premeditated murder charges, saying Bradley also said that Courtney was mad that Rebecca was bad-mouthing Courtney as a mom and wanted the baby for herself. Court documents show that Courtney told police that when asked about the baby, she said Bradley had told her that he had, quote, stuck him in a cooler, stuck him in a trash bag, threw him in the trash. Courtney admitted that about 1 to 2 months prior to Rebecca's murder, Bradley researched the procedure for...
I wonder if that lady they showed rocking back and forth, I wonder if that's Rebecca's adopted mother. I bet you it is. So basically, that's Rebecca's mother. My heart breaks for her.
Getting a baby out. Courtney also told investigators that Kimberly Park and Failer played no role in Rebecca's murder. Kimberly is accused of lying to police in this investigation. Failer has no charges related to this case. All 4 will be in court tomorrow. Northern Michigan's news leader will be there and bring you what comes from their latest court appearance.
That is so Heartbreaking. I just can't even imagine. They said that at one point Rebecca was begging her mom, her biological mother, Courtney, to save the baby because she knew she was going to die. So she begged them to save the baby. The last known acts of a loving mother to her unborn child. It's heartbreaking. It's like, it's infuriating. And they're talking about it so openly, like, it's no big deal. Ain't nothing. Ain't nothing, you know? It's just, ain't no thing but a chicken wing, according to them. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Now I hope I can still pull up the court affidavits and stuff, since that one article wouldn't let me continue because I wasn't a subscriber, you know. Okay, let me see. Come on. Um, Shit. Um, I have a feeling they were on that other article. Oh, shit. I don't want to have to go through and copy each image again like I had to last time, just so I could read it. Remember? Shit. That's so infuriating. Okay. Okay. Um, I don't think I can use my highlighter, but that's okay. So, this is the affidavit of probable cause to charge the two. Oh, and actually, this is the affidavit of probable cause for Kimberly Park. Okay. Affidavit. A duly sworn police officer with the Wexford County Sheriff's Office attests to the following facts based on personal investigation, or swearing to the facts as presented by a fellow sworn deputy sheriff, to establish probable cause that the crime of lying to police, obstructing an investigation, and making a false report of a felony was committed by the defendant, and affiant is respectfully seeking a warrant for the defendant's arrest. On Tuesday, November 4th at 12:44, Kimberly Sue Park, white female, and then it gives her date of birth, reported her 22-year-old sister, Rebecca K. Park, had not been seen since the prior evening. Kimberly identified that Rebecca was last known to be with Courtney Bartholomew at 30 South 21 and a half Road. That's weird. Which is in Boone Township of Wexford County. Courtney Bartholomew is the biological mother to Rebecca and Kimberly Park. At the time of the report, Rebecca Park was 38 weeks pregnant and living with her boyfriend, Richard Lee Fahler. Kimberly Park provided the sheriff's office with a cellular telephone that was identified as the one that Rebecca had been using at the time of her disappearance. Kimberly Park was communicating information to Detective Lieutenant Chris Piskor throughout the investigation. On Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, Kimberly Park made statements on a social media live broadcast that she was aware of information that Courtney Bartholomew and her husband, Brad Bartholomew, had something to do with Rebecca Park's disappearance. Lieutenant Piskor interviewed Kimberly Park on the same date, and she reported that Courtney and Brad had struck Rebecca Park in the head to cause her to have a seizure. And when they were unable to revive Park from the seizure, Brad contacted a friend who came and picked up Rebecca Park's body and took it away. Park said that Brad had said something about a swamp. Do they have swamps there? In Michigan? During another interview with Kimberly Park on Monday, November 24th, 2025, Park told D. Sergeant Alicia Baxter that she was and has been in a romantic relationship with Richard Fahler. Wait a minute. During another interview with Kimberly Park on Monday, November, she told Alicia Baxter that she was and had... Oh, so she was messing around with Rebecca's fiance. What? Wow. Kimberly Park identified that her relationship with Fahler was complicated. I would say so, by his relationship with her sister Rebecca. What the fuck? They don't have enough men in the world. On Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, a body of a deceased woman was found off the Federal Forest Service Road 9784, which is in a straight line approximately 2.5 miles west of the Bartholomew residence. A tattoo above the left eye of the deceased person was consistent with a tattoo above the same eye of Rebecca Park. Park had sharp force trauma wounds to her neck and her abdomen. Her abdomen had been cut open. D. Sergeant Jamie Voss and D. Sergeant Olivia Whetstone met with Kimberly Park at her residence in Herring Township on November 25th, 2025, for a non-custodial interview based on the discovery of the body. During this interview, Kimberly Park discussed the relationship details between herself and Richard Fahler. Park made a statement that Fahler had told her that Rebecca had been taken care of and not to worry about it. I always wondered if he's part of this. Park went on to say that Fahler had told her to lie to D. Lieutenant Piskor and say that Courtney and Brad Bartholomew hit Rebecca over the head and knocked her out, and they drove her and dumped her body. So is that story not true then? They didn't hit her and knock her out and cause a seizure? Or is it true? And I'm thinking, here's my theory, and it's just my opinion. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no proof of it. This is just what my opinion is. I think Fahler wants to be with Kimberly. And he knew that if he left Rebecca with the baby, he was going to have to pay and pay and pay for 18 years for this baby, and he didn't want to do it. So he promised Courtney Bartholomew, the baby, if she and her husband Brad did the dirty deed of killing Rebecca for him so that he could be with Kimberly. Because Courtney has no ties to Rebecca and Kimberly. She didn't raise them. They were adopted as young babies, as very young children. So she has no real relationship with them. She could care less. And now she gets a new baby to start over with and to try it all over, try to be a mother all over again. So that's my theory. That's what I think is going on. And I could be totally wrong. And if I am, I'll be the first to admit it. But I think that's what I think is happening. Because I always wondered if Failer was involved in this. And the fact that Brad and Courtney are just so willing to say that he had played no part in the murder, please. They're the type of people that would like to blame it on somebody else as quick as they could. And now they're saying he had nothing to do with it. I doubt it. Just one second. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I like shooting too far here? Shoot. Okay. Is that a stretch? I don't know. Kimberly Park was arrested for lying to police and obstructing the investigation at approximately 1911 by D. Sergeant Voss. Park told D. Sergeant Voss that she wanted to talk to D. Lieutenant Piscor. D. Lieutenant Piscor began a recorded interview with Kimberly Park on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025 at 202nd 2026 Park. Wait, at 2026, that's the time, sorry. Park, I should know that too. I work in the medical field. Duh. Park was provided with a Miranda warning, which she waived prior to the commencement of the interview. Kimberly Park identified that on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, while she was at Richard Failer's home, he told her that he killed Rebecca Park and that he wanted to protect Kimberly by not sharing details with her. Wow. Park identified that during a different conversation with Failer, he had told her that something went wrong while trying to cut the baby out of Rebecca. She reported that Failer told her that Austin Noland had helped him with Rebecca. Park said that Failer had also been encouraging her to mislead the investigation, and it was this reason she was sharing misleading information on social media live broadcasts. Park told Detective Lieutenant Piscor that Failer was becoming concerned about the investigation getting close to him, and that on the Thursday or Friday before Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, Failer assisted her with the creation of her accusation that she made to Detective Lieutenant Piscor during the interview on that date. There appeared to be additional unsubstantiated knowledge that Park had about Rebecca. This included a statement about Rebecca possibly having been, quote unquote, stored in an unknown location. Detective Sergeant Dan Hackman arrested Richard Failer for open murder of Rebecca Park, based on the statements made by Kimberly Park. Detective Sergeant Voss and Detective Sergeant Whetstone attempted to conduct an interview with Richard Failer at the sheriff's office on Wednesday, November 26, 2025, and he refused to cooperate without the assistance of an attorney. Detective Lieutenant Piscor interviewed Austin Noland on Wednesday, November 26, 2025. He denied involvement and was able to show cellular telephone records that did not place him in the Wexford County area on November 3rd or 4th, 2025. Noland cooperated with a consent search of his cellular device and later a consent search of his black in color Chevrolet Malibu. Noland did confirm that he had previously been in romantic relationships with both Rebecca and Kimberly Park. What, are they the only girls in this town? Oh my God. On Wednesday, November 26, 2025, Detective Lieutenant Piscor and Detective Sergeant Hackman began a follow-up interview with Kimberly Park and were more confrontational with her based on the outcome of the interview with Noland. Park requested the assistance of an attorney, to which point the interview was terminated. Signed, I don't know whose signature that is. Doesn't say. But the judge signed it also. So, I don't know. Pretty sketch. But I always wondered if Failer had something to do with it, you know? I just did. Okay. Is this not going to show? Okay, be patient for me. I'm working on it. This one's not showing up. Or is this let me see, just 1 second. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Moving right along. Okay, this is the 84th District Court, and it is an affidavit of probable cause, for Bradley Allen Bartholomew and Courtney Marie Bartholomew, defendants. Affiant, a duly sworn police officer with the Wexford County Sheriff's Office, attests to the following facts based on personal investigation or swearing to the facts as presented by a fellow sworn deputy sheriff to establish probable cause that the crime of homicide in the first degree, premeditated, felony murder, torture, conspiracy to commit torture, assault of a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, conspiracy to commit assault of a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, unlawful imprisonment, removing a dead body without the consent of the medical examiner was committed by the defendant, and affiant is respectfully seeking a warrant for the defendant's arrest. That's a lot of charges. On November 4th, 2025 at 12:44, Wexford County Central Dispatch received a call from Kimberly Sue Park reporting that her sister, Rebecca K. Park, had not been seen since November 3rd, 2025 at approximately 23:30 at 30 South 21 and a half Road in Boone Township of Wexford County. Deputy Reed Logan, Wexford County Sheriff's Office, start that again. Deputy Reed began Wexford County Sheriff's Office incident report as a missing person investigation. At the time of the report, Rebecca Park was 38 weeks pregnant and living with her boyfriend Richard Lee Failer at 1531 North 41 and a half Road in Cedar Creek Township. Deputy Reed spoke with Courtney Marie Bartholomew, who is Rebecca Park's biological mother and lives at 30 South 21 and a half Road. Courtney reported that she was with Rebecca Park the prior night until approximately 8:30 p.m. I don't like how they switch back and forth between military time and regular time. It's very confusing. Approximately 8:30 p.m. when an unidentified friend picked Rebecca up from Courtney's residence. Courtney had picked Rebecca up from 1531 North 41 and a half Road to spend some time together and get ice cream from Culver's. On the way to Culver's, Rebecca told Courtney she needed Tide Pods, so Courtney returned to her address at 30 South 21 and a half Road to get some Tide Pods for her. Courtney went to the residence, grabbed the Tide Pods, and came outside. When she came outside, Rebecca told her she was going to wait at the residence for a friend to pick her up. They waited a couple of minutes, and a black sedan with tinted windows pulled across the road from the residence. Rebecca proceeded across the road and got into the front passenger seat of the vehicle. Courtney did not know the specific make or model of the sedan or the number of occupants in the car. She could not tell if the driver was male or female. She said that after this, she did not see Rebecca again. Courtney reported to Deputy Reed that she was contacted by Rebecca's fiancé, Richard Failer, regarding her location later that night. Courtney informed Rich she did not know where Rebecca was and that she had left with a friend. Courtney was contacted by Kimberly Park the morning of November 4th, 2025, and was sent a screenshot of the location where Rebecca Park's phone was pinging at. Excuse me. Courtney told Deputy Reed that she proceeded down the road on West 26th Road, where she found Rebecca's phone lying by the two track just off West 26th Road. Okay, well, Courtney was contacted by Kimberly Park that morning and was sent a screenshot of the location where Rebecca Park's phone was pinging. So she just walked there. She wasn't concerned at all about where she might find the phone. She just walked to where it was pinging. I find that a little odd. This location is less than 200 yards from 30 South 21 and a half Road. Courtney checked the phone and thought Rebecca may have dropped it when she was using the restroom. Okay, she's 200 yards away from her mother's house, and she chooses to cop a squat and go to the bathroom right there rather than walk the 200 yards and use her mom's bathroom? Is that what they're trying to get us to believe? Okay. Courtney reported that she took the phone to Richard Fayler's residence on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, and turned it over to him. Okay, where's the next page? Oh my God. Okay, I got it. Sorry. It's getting good. The Sheriff's Office issued a press release on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, identifying Rebecca Park as a missing person. She was also entered into the Law Enforcement Information Network as missing. On Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, Detective Lieutenant Priscore met with Kimberly Park when she arrived at the Wexford County Sheriff's Office. Park had suggested that she might know where Rebecca Park is when she arrived at the Sheriff's Office. When I asked her about this, she played me a voice message from Courtney Bartholomew that said that Araya, who is Clark, had called her and said that two people in a car had pulled up to the Revival Center looking for Narcan and said that the pregnant woman that's missing, quote, got what she fucking deserved, end quote. Courtney stated that it was Serena Roosh that said something to Rusty Clark, Araya's father. She also added, quote, I guess it was an older guy that your sister left with, end quote. When I ask Kimberly if she knows where she's at, she answers that the only older guy that Rebecca talks to is Stephen Billett and calls him a pervert, quote unquote. Park believes that Billett drives a black sedan, adding, quote, like Courtney said, end quote. Stephen Billett was contacted and did not appear to have had contact with Rebecca Park. During the interview with Kimberly, she showed Detective Lieutenant Piscore a Blue View brand Model 4 cellular telephone which says, quote, Rebecca Park's phone, end quote, on the home screen. Kimberly reported that she has looked through the phone and observed that the last communications on the phone reported a missed video call from clunan14@gmail.com on Friday, October 3rd at 8:43 p.m. I shouldn't have said that out loud, so ignore that, please. The last text message was on Sunday, and the last phone call was to Courtney Bartholomew on Sunday, November 2nd at 9:14. Kimberly identified that Rebecca uses her phone regularly and daily, and because she did not see any communications on Monday, November 3rd, 2025, she suspects that records of phone activity on the 3rd have been deleted, or she may have just not had her phone with her. So there's that. Kimberly reported that Rebecca is known to regularly delete communication records from her cellular phone. So am I. I do all the time. Kimberly then played another voice message on her phone from Courtney Bartholomew, who can be heard explaining, quote, okay, when Randy passed away, I was told that your sister had something to do with it. That would give Randy's family a murder revenge thing because she was involved when it came to Randy, end quote. What kind of thing is that for a mother to say about her daughter? What the? This lady is... When I asked Kimberly if she trusted Courtney, she responded, quote, not really, end quote. Exactly. She has no reason to. On Thursday, November 6th, 2025, at 13:35, Detective Lieutenant Piscor obtained a search warrant for the Blue View 4 cellular telephone that had been entered as property in the incident as item 54. I have such a hard time with that word. I don't know why. The cellular device was submitted to the Michigan State Police Computer Crimes Unit on the same date at 15:16. On Saturday, November 8th, 2025, members of All County Search and Rescue and Christian Aid Ministries Search and Rescue with 36 personnel comprised of 5 teams searched the area where Rebecca Park was last seen and the area where her cellular telephone was recovered from. No additional evidence was identified. During this time, numerous tips and leads were coming in and were being actively investigated. However, none located Rebecca Park. Due to reported activity on Rebecca's social media platforms, pen register search warrants were obtained and served on her known social media accounts. However, no outgoing use was ever identified. On 11/15/2025, now they're going from saying the month to the number of the month. I don't get it. Candace Freeman reported to Deputy Jacob Caponen that her sister Courtney Bartholomew had texted her on October 28th that she had given birth to a son and was asking Candace for items for the baby. Through a series of text messages. So how long has it been since she's talked to her sister? That her sister didn't even know she was pregnant. I mean, wouldn't she have told her sister that she was pregnant and to hold on to all her baby stuff so that she could have it when her baby was born? Through a series of text messages, Courtney said that she had given birth at 28 weeks. The baby was in the NICU, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, in Grand Rapids, and that she had named the baby Ashton Lee Bartholomew. That's a cute name. Courtney told Candace, quote, he's supposed to come home this coming week. As long as he's doing good still, he will, end quote. On Monday, November 3rd, so she was pre-planning this, because she didn't want to just show up with a newborn baby after they cut it out of Rebecca's stomach. So she started building the story way back in October already, saying that she had already had it. It was premature. It was in the NICU. So that by the time they unalived Rebecca in November and took her baby, there would be no suspicion. That's some cold shit right there, I'm telling you. On Monday, November 3rd, 2025 at 14:52, Candace asked Courtney if she was able to bring the baby home, and Courtney told her no. Courtney told her, quote, no, he did a backslide, but still hoping this week, end quote. A backslide, okay? On November 3rd, 2025 at 23:17, Courtney sent Candace a text that reads, quote, my son passed away, end quote. On Tuesday, November 4th at 11:18, Candace asked if it was because he wasn't strong enough or if he had gotten sick. Courtney answered, quote, I don't IDK what happened. I just know he wasn't getting air, end quote, and added, quote, all I know is I watched my child die right in front of me, end quote. And boy, is that like a double whammy, because Rebecca was her child too, biologically. What a piece of shit. Candace asked if she was there when it happened, and Courtney answered, quote, "Yes, I was," end quote. On Tuesday, that's an admission right there. On Tuesday, November 4th at 1911, Courtney begins to discuss with Candace that Rebecca Park is missing. What a coincidence. And Rebecca Park's pregnant. Wow. On Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, preservation's requests for lower dump area search for the tower in the location, and it gives the longitude and latitude, between the hours of 1900 and 2200 on November 3rd, 2025, were submitted to T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon Wireless. Detective Lieutenant Piscor had contacted Courtney Bartholomew about another interview. Bartholomew was reluctant to come in, suggesting that Deputy Reed's interview with her had been thorough, but eventually agreed. On Tuesday, November 11, 2025, at 13:49, Detective Lieutenant Piscor conducted a recorded interview with Courtney Bartholomew. Initially, some background on Courtney and her biological children, raised by the Park family, is established. Courtney then reports how Rebecca and Richard Fahler were initially dating and they broke up. A relationship between herself and Rich then commences. So the mother had a relationship with Rebecca's fiance also? Let's go back and read that again. Courtney then reports how Rebecca and Richard Fahler were initially dating and they broke up. A relationship between herself and Rich then commences. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? What the? Was this before or after? Oh no, this must have been before Kimberly's relationship with Richard, because Kimberly was currently seeing Richard when Rebecca went missing. Sorry, that was my coffee maker. Holy crap. He was with her mother. Did you see pictures of her mother? Oh my God. That makes my heart hurt for her. Courtney reports that she was planning to divorce Bradley. Oh, dear God. Courtney then became pregnant and was unsure who the father might be, Bradley or Richard. Because of this, she stopped her divorce approximately 2 weeks before the court date of the divorce. Courtney reports that Rich showed up at her house with the intention of shooting Bradley Bartholomew. After Courtney rejected Rich, he resumed his relationship with Rebecca Park. Did Rebecca know about any of this? Did she know about Kimberly and Rich? Did she know about her mom and Rich? Or her biological mother and Rich? What kind of shit is this? Courtney also reported that Rich had returned to her residence and raped her forcefully, causing her to have a miscarriage of the baby she was carrying. Who believes that? A report of this incident was made with the sheriff's office. However, Courtney said Rich was not charged. Did they look into that to see if there was a report filed? Because I haven't heard anything about that. This is getting seedy. I mean, so seedy. It's just crazy. This is like a cheap rated B movie or something. I mean, oh my God. Courtney identified that she was concerned for Rebecca as she was aware of how abusive and aggressive Richard Fahler could be and has encouraged Rebecca to leave Rich. I bet you have. Wow. When Detective Lieutenant, I was not expecting that. I'm telling you what. I mean, I was not expecting that. When Detective Lieutenant Piscor asked about things leading up to the weekend, Courtney reported on Kimberly and Rebecca coming over on Saturday, November 1st, 2025, to her residence at 30 South 21 and a half Road. So was Rebecca living with Courtney, or was she just living on the same property? Because they have the same address. Right? Isn't that Rebecca's address too, or is that just where she was last seen? I think maybe it was where she was last seen. Just one second. Okay. Okay, so where were we? Courtney told Detective Lieutenant Piscor about giving envelopes to Kimberly and Rebecca. Prince. These envelopes were later reported by both Kimberly and Rebecca to have been empty. How do you know that Rebecca reported that it was empty? I'm so confused. Courtney said that she was going to give Rebecca cash and didn't want Kimberly to feel left out. So she wanted Kimberly to set up an account so she could put money in an account for her. Courtney then reports having forgotten to give Rebecca some items for her baby while at the house. So she contacted Rebecca and then brought the items to her at Richard Fayler's house Saturday night. Courtney then told Detective Lieutenant Piscor that on Saturday, November 2nd, 2025, she was supposed to pick Rebecca up to have milkshakes at Dairy Queen and get Rebecca laundry soap. These plans fell through when Rebecca went to Cadillac Munson Hospital as she thought she was in labor. Courtney reported that she and Bradley both visited Rebecca and Rich in the hospital that day. It is confirmed that Rebecca was not in labor, had only dilated to 1, and she was released from the hospital. Bartholomew drove Rebecca and Rich home from the hospital. Courtney said that when they arrived at Fayler's, he was throwing their bags, and Rebecca had whispered to her that Rich had been, quote, acting like a real big ass mom, end quote. She calls her mom. I can't imagine that. Courtney offered to take her home with her, and Rebecca requested that they just meet for milkshakes tomorrow, Monday, November 3rd, 2025, and talk. On Monday, November 3rd, 2025, Courtney said that she went to pick Rebecca up between 1830 and 1900 at Fayler's. Courtney reports that as they ride, Rebecca said she was tired, which she confronted by telling her she looked stressed. She claimed that Rebecca was upset with Rich, identifying that he had been hounding her to obtain money to fix his truck. Courtney talked about how she encouraged Rebecca to leave Rich, but said Rebecca was afraid to leave him. Courtney said when they arrived at her house, she gave Rebecca an envelope with $2,000 cash in it, and they discussed Courtney throwing her a baby shower. She identified that Rebecca didn't want a baby shower because she was afraid that Children's Protective Services was going to take the baby. I wonder why. Courtney said that while they were talking, Rebecca was texting on her phone and mentioned that the possibility that she had 2 phones. Courtney said she went into the house to get laundry soap and that when she came back out, she said, quote, I noticed that she deleted something, end quote, but didn't know what it was or which phone it might have been on. What do you mean you noticed she deleted something? How? How did you notice she deleted something? Courtney said she told Rebecca that she would take her back home, but Rebecca told her to hold on. She had someone coming to get her. Courtney said she pulled out of her driveway and a car came up behind her. She identified that she didn't ask Rebecca who it was out of fear she would push her away, but Rebecca had told her she would be back. Courtney said the car had dark tinted windows. There was no plate on the car, but she could tell it was a quote-unquote Chevy. When questioned that social media was reporting the car had the taillights of an Impala, Courtney confirmed she was the source of that information. Courtney talked about someone Rebecca knows who has a Chrysler 300 also having similar taillights. Bartholomew didn't follow the car, as she again said that it would upset Rebecca if she had. Courtney said that at about 2300, she reached out to Kimberly to get Rich's number. At about 2330, she said she tried to call Rich, so she sent him a text that Rebecca had left with someone. Courtney confirmed that Rebecca was texting while they were together. Her next contact with Rich was Tuesday morning, and she reported telling him that she had given Rebecca $2,000. Courtney then said that Kimberly sent her the GPS location to Rebecca's phone, which she said she put into her phone, and it took her right to the phone. When I asked who went and got the phone, Courtney then identified, quote, we, end quote, who was identified as Bradley and herself. It is reported that Bradley found the phone and he then handed it to Courtney. Detective Lieutenant Piscor confronted Courtney of an image she had sent to Rebecca of a check that was made out in her name for $18,000. She claimed that when her mother died, she was left money to do with what she pleased. When Courtney's mother died? What's she waiting on? Courtney confirmed that she sent an image of a check to Rebecca, but that she had not given the check to her. Courtney denied that there was a similar check made out to Kimberly, a statement that Courtney had tried to have this meeting prior had fallen through because she didn't have things in place that she needed to. Courtney said it was simply getting kids together at one time was what wasn't falling into place. When Detective Lieutenant Piscor confronts Courtney that the phone records of the phone that was found on the 2-track was not used to summon someone to pick her up. Courtney then identifies that there are possibly 2 other phones she uses. So now it's 2 other phones. So now it went from she possibly has 2 phones to she possibly has 3 phones. What is she, some major drug kingpin or what? Queenpin? Courtney brings up the names of other people she thinks may be involved based on rumors. Specifically, that Mike Haynes and Ashley Croas were supposed to help Rebecca get away from Faylor. As Detective Lieutenant Piscor discussed phone location records with Courtney, she confirms that she picked Rebecca up between 1830 and 1900 and came south on South 41 and a half Road to Mackinac Trail and turned west onto East 30 and 3/4 Road to continue out to her residence at South 21 and a half Road. Location data from Rebecca's phone supported this route of travel. When Detective Lieutenant Piscor confronted Courtney with the accusations that she killed Rebecca Park, she asked, quote, "Why the fuck would I do that?" end quote, saying that she would never hurt her daughter. During this interview, Courtney Bartholomew said she did not know where Rebecca Park was. When Courtney was asked if she had done anything to harm Rebecca Park, she again said she would not hurt her daughter. While discussing the pickup truck at her residence that was reported to never move but had been moved recently, Courtney reported it doesn't have seats in it, but said that it was moved recently to make room to access the porch. Courtney said that Kimberly and Rebecca do not like Bradley Bartholomew. On Tuesday, November 11, 2025 at 1540, Detective Lieutenant Piscor conducted a recorded interview with Bradley Bartholomew. He confirmed his cellular telephone is, and I wish I could cut that out because I shouldn't be showing that. When asked about Rebecca, Bradley reported that they don't get along. He explained that it is due to his criminal history. He described Rebecca and Courtney's relationship as quote-unquote rocky. Bradley said that he was not around on Monday when Rebecca was at the house. He identified that he was, quote, at my place, end quote, and described living in the woods near Harrietta and the fish hatchery. As Detective Lieutenant Piscor was attempting to confirm his presence there, Bradley said he was alone and that his phone was with Courtney as her phone was about to be shut off. The truck at the house, the truck at the house was discussed and identified as not having moved in years. Bradley said that he had been driving the truck up until October 21st, 2025, when the license plate expired. When asked if the seats were out of the truck, Bradley confirmed that they had been. He explained a similar explanation that they are cleaning the truck up for Courtney's son, Bentley, to drive when he turns 16. When Bradley was asked when he found out that Rebecca Park was missing, he identified it was Monday night or Tuesday morning. He again denied being at the residence. Bradley told Detective Lieutenant Piscor that on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, Courtney Bartholomew, quote, was in town, end quote, and he was at the house with Bentley when Courtney texted him the location of where Rebecca's phone was. Bradley said he refused to go out there alone because, quote, I'm not being accused of anything, end quote. Well, how do you know there's anything to be accused of? Bradley said that when Courtney got home, they went out together to look for the phone based on a ping that Kimberly Park had sent to Courtney. Bradley confirmed that he was the person who found Rebecca Park's cellular device on the 2-track near 30 South 21 and a half Road, and he picked it up and handed it to Courtney. Bradley said he didn't know how Rebecca's phone ended up on the trail, but suggested she had walked that trail in the past. On Monday, November 24th, 2025, Courtney Bartholomew came to the sheriff's office and Detective Lieutenant Piscor began a recorded interview with her. There's a discussion about the TikTok live conversations. I asked Courtney about a cellular device that a, quote, bounty hunter, end quote, dropped off at the Clare City Police Department. She identified this phone was provided by Kimberly. During this meeting, I asked Courtney about Kimberly's personal property in her vehicle. She confirmed that she was in the possession of items that belonged to Kimberly. However, she didn't want to leave the items with me to return to Kimberly. On Monday, November 24th, 2025, Bradley Bartholomew was interviewed by Detective Lieutenant Tim Haleen at the Michigan State Police Crime Laboratory in Grayling. During his interview, Bradley reported that he is trying to protect Kimberly Park. Why, is he having sex with her? He said that Kimberly took Rebecca down a 2-track behind, quote, unquote, the house, and he stated, quote, I believe she's dead, end quote. Bradley Bartholomew said to Detective Lieutenant Tim Haleen that he was present during a dinner with Courtney Bartholomew, Rebecca Park, and Kimberly Park on Saturday, November 1st, 2025, at 30 South 21 and a half Road. Not one other person has mentioned a dinner. Not one. He's the only one that has said that. During this time, Bradley said that Kimberly had a private conversation with him asking about the 2 tracks behind the house, and that Kimberly stated she needed to get Rebecca, quote, out of the picture, end quote. So does he know about Kimberly and Richard Failer? He must, right? On Tuesday, November 25th, 2025 at 1416, Wexford County Central Dispatch received a 911 call from Courtney Letterman from telephone... Oh, what's that? Shit. Stating that she had found a body covered with leaves that, quote, looks gutted, end quote. The location of the body was approximately 2.5 miles in a straight line west of 30 South 21 and a half Road in Antioch Township of Wexford County on Forest Service Road 9784. We have an Antioch where I live too. That's funny. Wexford County Deputy Jacob Kaponen responded to the area, observed the remains, and reported the deceased female has a tattoo above the left eye. Kaponen reported that the abdomen area of the body appears to have been cut open. The tattoo located above the left eye is consistent with the Michigan driver's license images of Rebecca K. Park. Michigan State Police Trooper Cody Campbell was inside the residence at 30 South 21 and a half Road on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, securing the residence until the Michigan State Police Crime Lab personnel could search the home based on a search warrant that had been authorized on that date. While in the presence of Courtney Bartholomew and Bradley Bartholomew, Courtney and Bradley were discussing amongst themselves, loud enough for Trooper Campbell to hear. Courtney mentioned to Bradley that the seat cover from the Ford F-150 in the driveway had recently been burned and disposed of due to something having been spilled on it. A search warrant was served on T-Mobile for Bradley Bartholomew's known cell number. The records that were produced pursuant to the search warrant show Bradley Bartholomew's device active in the area of 30 South 21 and a half Road on November 3rd, 2025. Further, these records showed device movement and lingering in the areas consistent with where Bradley and Courtney reported recovering Rebecca Park's cell device and where her body was discovered on November 25th, 2025, on several occasions on Monday, November 3rd, 2025 in the evening hours. These records take place after the records obtained from Rebecca Park's phone and network demonstrate her arriving in the area of 30 South 21 and a half Road shortly after 1900. Additionally, records from Rebecca Park's phone extraction show locations consistent with the reported location of recovery of the device. A search warrant was served on Verizon for Courtney Bartholomew's known telephone number. God, it keeps doing that. The records that were produced pursuant to the search warrant show Courtney Bartholomew in the area of 30 South 21 and a half Road, and both Bradley and Courtney's records show them in communication with one another shortly after her arrival with Rebecca Park at 30 South 21 and a half Road. Additionally, Courtney Bartholomew's phone records have activity consistent with her interview statements that she traveled to pick up Rebecca Park at Richard Fayler's residence at 1531 North 41 and a half Road, then transporting to her house at 30 South 21 and a half Road. These names are weird. Bradley Bartholomew's call detail records show the following calls of investigative interest. 1812-56, a 2-minute, 2-second outgoing call from Bradley to Courtney. 1929-55 and 57 seconds. 57-second call from Bradley to Courtney. At 1933-39, a 54-second call from Bradley to Courtney. At the time of the call at 1812-56, device network records show Brad and Courtney's devices near the area of 30 South 21 and a half Road, and this precedes the activity of Rebecca's device coming into the area of 30 South 21 and a half Road. Affiant is aware the calls at 1929-55 and 1933-39 again show Brad and Courtney's devices in the area near 30 South 21 and a half Road after Rebecca's device records show her arrival in that same area. An autopsy was conducted at Western Michigan University by Dr. Christine James and was attended by Deputy Alexis Howard. There were 6 sharp force wounds in Park's back. 2 to the right upper arm, 1 to the left trapezius area, 2 to the neck, and at least 2 to the face. Oh my God. The right side of the face also has a laceration and an irregular wound to the cheek of unknown etiology. The wounds to the neck are described as superficial and do not penetrate muscle or harm any vasculature. Most of the wounds to the torso are contained in soft tissue. 1 to the back enters the left pleural space but misses the lung. Pleural space is the chest cavity. 1 to the right side of the back enters the right pleural space and does penetrate the right upper lung lobe and caused a large pneumothorax, which is your lung popping. All major vessels are intact. Now, if that would have been filled with blood, it would have been the same thing Kelsey Fitzsimmons had, which was a hemothorax. Rebecca Park's abdomen had incised wounds. The placenta was hanging from the open abdominal wound, oh my God, with attached umbilical cord, and the fetus was absent. The abdomen incision transcended the colon and the small bowel. So they cut her bowels also. Dr. James reported that Rebecca Park's stomach contained copious amounts of a blue-green chalky residue. There was also a thin film of subdural blood over the left cerebral hemisphere with focal subdural on the right parietal area. So she had skull bleeding in the skull. However, there was no subscapular or subgaleal hemorrhage, nor skull fracture is noted. The OA joint had marked laxity, but a posterior neck dissection showed no soft tissue hemorrhage. On Sunday, November 30th, 2025, a second search warrant was obtained for Bradley and Courtney Bartholomew's residence at 30 South 21 and a half Road. Search warrants to seize the 2007 Ford Escape four-door SUV, red in color, with a VIN of, and gives the VIN, and a temporary Michigan registration plate of registered to Courtney Bartholomew, and the 1992 Ford F-150 pickup truck, white in color, with, okay, and have them towed to the Wexford County Sheriff's Office to be processed by the Michigan State Police Laboratory Technicians. To be processed by the Michigan State Police Laboratory Technicians were also obtained. The search warrants were served, and Bradley and Courtney Bartholomew were both taken into custody and transported to the Wexford County Sheriff's Office. On Sunday, November 30th, 2025 at 1541, Detective Lieutenant Piscor and Detective Sergeant Hackman conducted a recorded interview with Bradley Bartholomew. Bradley was put on notice that Rebecca's death is a homicide and that this is a homicide investigation and that there can't be any more lies. Bradley was read his Miranda rights from a Wexford County Miranda warning card. He confirmed his understanding of the rights explained to him, and he agreed to speak with the detectives at the time. Okay. So I am going to stop there for today, and I will pick up where we left off tomorrow. I hope you guys are finding this as interesting as I am. It's just insane to me what people are capable of. I mean, it's not enough that they're related. It's just the fact that people can do this to somebody, period. I mean, I work in a hospital. I see stuff like this all the time, and I'm telling you, I would have a hard time doing it to somebody. Even if it was like for life-saving efforts, I would have a hard time doing it, much less in a nefarious setting. You know, it's just, it blows me away. But anyway, I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, and we will pick up where we just left off. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, Tuesday, and stay safe, stay warm, get that Christmas shopping done. Talk to you later, or see you later. Bye-bye.